Hi, so the book I did is Pond Walk by Nancy Elizabeth Wallace. And the book is a mother and a son, which they're both bear characters, decide to go for a walk along a pond to see what they can find for animals and vegetation and different sorts of things. And the reason I chose this book is because a pond is a great way to see a bunch of different organisms. Because in a pond, it's a very kind of a large ecosystem, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of plants that like lily pads and cattails and things like that. And then there's a bunch of animals that are in it, like frogs, tadpoles, turtles, salamanders. There's birds flying around most of the time. And I just felt like it was a very good book to get a wide variety of different sorts of organisms and animals that would be living in it. And I also thought that children could relate to this because around this area where I live, there's a lot of ponds and swamps and sort of things that you can go view. So they could actually go out with their parents if they want and go check out the different variation in ponds that we have around here. And it's a good learning experience because it's good to see things with your own eyes because you make the observations instead of just reading them in a book and reading facts on them, but instead you actually see these animals and the plants and see how they interact with each other and how they actually are in their natural environment. So basically, in the book, the child walks through and he sees different animals and things such like that. So he sees a frog, and anytime he sees something, he'll ask his mother, "What is that?" And she'll come back and she'll explain what the animal is. So he saw a frog sitting in a corner, and it was croaking. And when he walked up to it, it stopped croaking. So he asked, "What is this animal?" And she said, "A frog." And to go along with the different animals that they're finding, there's also little jokes that go along with it. And so one of the jokes that I thought was pretty amusing that children might like was the child character in the book asked his mother, "How did the frog feel when he hurt his leg?" And the mom asked, "How did he feel?" And the child responded with, "Very unhappy." And I feel like that is something that children could relate to because it's also a funny and simple joke, but it has some sort of facts in it because frogs obviously hop around anywhere they go. And I felt like the joke went along very well, and maybe kids could come up with their own jokes with different animals. Like that could be a lesson we could do. Could be I could throw some facts on the board or show them some facts, and they could try to get into groups and come up with different puns and jokes that could correspond with the book, so maybe they'd be able to understand it a little more. And another one I liked is when they saw the duckweeds, which is just floating vegetation in the water that has floating roots. So if a gust of wind goes by, it'll blow it all over the pond, but it's still alive because the roots are floating. So the joke that went along with it was a child asked, "What do ducks eat?" And the mother said, "What?" And the child said, "Ducks eat duckweed and quackers." And that was also a cool joke I felt because ducks are quacking all the time. Just like in the beginning of the book, it started out with walking to the pond and hearing ducks quacking and goose honking. So I feel like children could really get behind that and find it amusing along with learning information. And that's another reason I like this book is because throughout the book it comes up with different facts about animals. So it, like I said, it tells like what the ducks are eating, the duckweed and things like that to survive. And they might have not even known that ducks eat duckweed before that, so they could have learned some new information from this book along with being entertained. And the illustrations in it, I feel like, are very simple, and there's a decent amount of words on each page, so it might be a little harder for them to comprehend. But I feel like the illustrations being simple makes them kind of rely on the text that is in the book more instead of looking at the illustrations. So it's a different way to learn instead of being visual. They have to actually listen decently hard and try to get all the ideas in their head, put them together instead of just being able to look at the image and see it. But also it has the image of the animal, so they would be able to tell. And also, I liked in the book how the child, every time he saw an animal, he would draw a picture of it, which is a great idea because you could always have visual representations if you ever want to go back and see like what kind of animal that was. And maybe even they could draw a picture in like a little notebook and then put factual information about the animal underneath it, like such as frogs hop. They start as tadpoles, as little fish swimming around, and they grow legs and tails, and they could learn information from that. Now, at the end of the book, the child sees a turtle, and at the when he wants to go home, he decides that he's going to make a rock creation of a turtle, which is another fun activity where they're also putting together their creative mind, but also having to use information on what turtles look like in order to create it. So what I thought for an idea would be to have my students pick an animal and draw a picture of it, like I said earlier, and maybe make a page in the book like there is in Pondwalk. So they could make their own Pondwalk book where they have a joke in it and information about the animal, just simple facts and sort of a dialogue between, say, the mother and the child, like in the book. And I thought that would be a cool way to get them to be able to write their ideas on paper along with a fun way to do it instead of putting it so they feel like they have to have more information than they do. It can just be very simple in a sense where you can just have very easy information put onto the page. And then I would have them share theirs with the class, and hopefully, if everybody came up with one, I would be able to combine them and make one book for the class. So we would have our own science book to teach during lessons, and they can show their friends and family and be really proud of the creation they did. And I thought that was very interesting and thought it'd be fun for them to do. So the standards I thought that would go along with this book are life science, PLSS, PLS1, observe familiar plants and animals, including humans, and describe what they need to survive. And also science and engineering practices, PLS1, record information, observations, thoughts, and ideas. And I thought that last one went with it just because in the book where he was drawing pictures of the animals that he was seeing, it's a way of recording the information that you see in observations. You're writing them down, drawing them out so you have visual representation later on if you want to come back to it. Thank you.